So for my listeners, welcome to the podcast. I'm very happy that Chuck Spezzano is my guest today. We've known each other since 2010, and I've been organizing 3 workshops in Berlin, which was absolute joy and pleasure. And we haven't seen each other for 12 years now, and now we're back online for this interview. So I'm very happy, Chuck, that you are here.
I am happy to be here.
And whoever doesn't know Chuck, which there won't be so many, Chuck Spezzano is a best-selling author, psychologist for 55 years. You've been a trainer and facilitator. You have written 52 books, I think mainly published in Germany, right?
Yeah, 52 published in Germany. So
amazing. Yeah, and you founded together with your wife, Lancy, the Psychology of Vision. Friends helping friends, like it's a fusion of psychology and spirituality, right?
yes, it's a transpersonal psychology.
Transpersonal psychology. Maybe you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, in the 70s, it became an idea. Humanistic psychology, transpersonal psychology was one that recognized the deepest part of our minds. It was all spiritual, the highest parts of our mind. And so it didn't ignore that element. And now I've used that for many years to help facilitate and save time, because heaven's plan for us is happiness, and our ego had some other plans. And
and when you say that, a big part of the psychology of vision is the Course in Miracles. And maybe you want to share with us a little bit about your experience with the Course in Miracles, how it came to you and how it really fuses with your work and what part it plays.
In 1975, I was friends with one of the best psychics in Southern California, and she had channeled a book called God's Way of Life. And she burned out about 2/3 of the machines at UCLA Parapsychological Institute. And her brainwave was always in theta. And she was really an amazing woman. And, I brought my friends, my family to visit her. And, they had many spiritual messages. But after 2 years, I had gone through the book so many times that it was becoming opaque. And so I prayed, I asked for another book that would carry me through to the rest of my life, that I could keep learning from. And about 6 months later, in 1977, a colleague of mine at the rehab center that we worked at, she said, "You got to check out this Course in Miracles thing. This is right up your alley." So I did, and I had discovered things that haven't been written about in psychology therapy, and I thought I had first discovered them. But what I read in A Course in Miracles, it had most of what I had discovered. There were a few things like ancestral healing, things like that, that weren't part of A Course in Miracles, but I figured that was my contribution. Anyhow, I not only discovered that they had what I had discovered, but they also had so many other things that helped me work deeply. Because in the early days, I had such a big workload in rehab with clients at the Naval Drug Rehab Center, both Marines and sailors, that I was looking for quicker and quicker ways. I studied short-term psychotherapy. I studied hypnosis. And but then even that became too slow. And I found this intuitive method that can get right to the heart of what you believe and everything that we buried. So there were so many things that came to me from the subconscious. And by 1975, the unconscious start opening up. And I'd been working, at that time with problems in the womb and at conception and at birth. And, and then all of a sudden past lives start showing up, and they hadn't taught me anything about this in graduate school. But the Course in Miracles gave a framework for healing, bringing it right down to the essence, which is forgiveness. I learned so many things from A Course in Miracles since 1979. It was just, or 77. It was just such an amazing experience. And I've read it maybe 20 times, but each time I go back, I learn more. I see things at a deeper level. I understand things more about how the mind works. And it's just been an inspiration to me, to my wife. I noticed my son had a copy the other day. And so, yeah, this is a way, it's like I like to start my day reading a little bit in the Course, keep my light down low. And then my wife comes over to my bed for just, snuggling before the day starts. And but I love A Course in Miracles. It's helped me personally so much. And so it's built synchronistically. So if you have a question, and a clear question, and you open the book, it responds to that. So I decided I wanted to have all my books be synchronistic in the same way, that people could be dealing with something, open to a chapter or a book or a page, and find some answers. So I can't speak highly enough of it. It's just this channel that haven't seen anything like it. So pure. It's written in kind of a Christian metaphor, but I work a lot in Asia, and I had a buddy of mine who got a PhD in Buddhism in Japan, and he lived in Taiwan. And he said to me, I learned more from your courses about Buddhism than I did from my whole PhD course. But that was the kind of perennial philosophy that is present in Course in Miracles, is present in Hinduism, Buddhism, all the high level spiritual paths home.
So and that's basically, isn't that basically singularity, right?
The closer you get to the top of the mountain, the more things converge. So I teach a lot in China now. And so it just really helps. And when I'm there, I can feel the presence of Buddha and Kuan Yin. Like in the West, I can feel Jesus and Mary, and sometimes, they're in oneness. So I suspect that, Kuan Yin sometimes takes on Mother Mary's, persona, and Jesus takes on Buddha's persona, and they just have a masquerade, having fun, switching things around. So
as you said, you're teaching in different parts of the world. I mean, in Asia and Germany, but then you have your courses in Hawaii also. I think you're in Spain as well, right?
I've been in Spain, haven't been there for a while. We'll be back to the UK next year. I'll be twice to Germany this year. In May, we're doing an ancestral healing workshop in Frankfurt. And it's basically, we've all been affected by our ancestors. And since the 70s, my first clients, I saw this pattern, and I didn't know how to work with it or what to do with it. There was a rape being passed down each generation, and broken families. But after 2 years of studies, I found a number of different healing metaphors to get through that. And so starting the 8th of May, there's the first evening, I believe, is going to be free. There's a number of powerful healers. I'll be the MC, and they'll show some of their healing methods. Carolyn Mackay went to Rwanda after the genocide and was helping the healing there in different places. And Fred Luskin has taught in Stanford for many years, and knows the whole background about why forgiveness works. And has like scientific evidence. And then there is my friend Damien, who has been a trainer throughout Europe and has been living in Kenya, and his friend Washington, who is a tribal healer and has the most profound healing method with for ancestral work. And so that's the night. 80 years ago that the treaty was signed in Germany for peace. And so it was begun by a buddy of mine who was in Bhutan for a happiness workshop, a happiness project. And he became acquainted with a group of young Germans and also someone who was head of a university in Germany. And they were all lamenting the fact that they couldn't get past this ancestral guilt. And he told me about that. I was going, you can get past it. There are many ways. I mean, I found about 5, 6 different ways, and then I've read about other ways that people found the way through. So I mean, heaven's path is that we get through every limitation, and our life is filled with enough problems and limitations for about 2.5 lifetimes.
True.
So it's just helping people get out of pain.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key thing. And when I began in the early 70s and mid 70s of doing this work, and stuff was coming out of the unconscious, and I was going, could this possibly be true? Did we make decisions, when we were in the womb and we're just the size of a tadpole? But the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. If things get better, I would go, I'll go there.
Absolutely.
If this works, I'll keep using it. And it kept working and working and working and working. So I was so happy. I set goals from like when I get stumped with something with a client, I just set my mind to let me find the answer to this. There must be a way through, because that's heaven's will. Let me get out of the way and find the answer.
That's exactly what I do. It's like, really, where's the solution? Just let me find the solution. And so forgiveness is a key part, as you said, and this is my experience. It's been now for 1 year that I, was guided to go deep into ancestral lines in Germany. And this is so fascinating. And it's all about forgiveness, and it's all about really seeing these ancestors and what they experienced and how heavy that was, and to understand in a deeper level what they experienced, that makes it possible to forgive. And this would be my next question. So forgiveness, if you could put forgiveness in a few sentences, the basic of forgiveness, how you've experienced, how it works just profoundly every time.
Instead of judging someone, which sets up, I'm separate. I would never do anything like that. Of course, you can't even see it unless you've done it. That's the nature of perception. So what you're seeing is what you have projected. It could be a soul lesson. It could be that big, or it could be just something more minor. But when you judge, you get stuck. You become right about what that is, and you're feeling guilt, and we can't stand guilt, so we have to say, oh, that belongs to you. I would never do that. Or sometimes you recognize, oh yeah, I do that all the time. But it's like in Hawaiian, there's a method that was formulated by Morna Simeona, who was a shaman, who was a kahuna, and she passed it on to her assistant, who was a psychiatrist and also a kahuna. And basically it's this: you see the problem, or you see the person, or you see the situation, and you say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry that I made you carry my burden. I'm sorry that I projected my guilt on you. I'm sorry that I made you pay for what I thought was my sins. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Dr. Yulin was asked to be head of the psychiatric hospital in Hawaii. And he said, I'll do that on one condition. They go, what's that? He said, that I never have to see a patient. I never have to talk to them. And they said, well, how are you going to help them? He goes, leave that to me. If you want me, this is my one condition. And they said, okay, let's try this. In 6 months, even the criminally insane were having weekend leaves. And by the, a little bit further, and they'd cleared the hospital. And then he goes, my work here is done. but he would take their pictures out and he'd go, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And he would do that every day with their photos. Pretty soon, some nurses and some nurses' aides start joining him. And they would do this with the client. But to have a psychiatric hospital, cleared, that's pretty amazing. So that's the basis of it. Our world, and this is all over A Course in Miracles, is our mind projected outward. It's our stories. Our people, the people around us are how we used to be, our self-concepts, and they're still buried in the unconscious. So what we've judged is our old and ancient guilt, and forgiveness frees them and it frees us. I mean, I know a lot of healers and they're always saying, well, forgiveness is for me. It's like it freed me. Because we live in these limitations. We live in these prisons. And if we can have prison breaks, to move beyond limitations, to expand our mind, well, that's everything. So there's many different things, but they all come down to extending yourself, giving forth. So one of the things I learned from A Course in Miracles is that under every problem we have, under every trauma, there's a soul gift. And if you embrace the soul gift, the problem dissolves. And so this is a really easy way if you're willing, because in 1984, I was volunteering time in the men's prison in Hawaii. And so after 1 week, they took me and they said, we got to show you this. And they took me to one of the guy's cells, and there on the wall was a poem that he had written. And he said, I will get out of prison not when my sentence is done. I will get out of prison not when my parole board says it's okay for me to go. He said, the only time I will get out of prison is when I stop being afraid of my freedom. And I got chicken skin and things like that. And I mean, people are afraid of their greatness. They're afraid of their purpose, which they go together. And in your purpose, you stop paying attention to yourself. It's not all about me,
Exactly.
which is our ego.
Yeah.
You want me to say that in Chinese? It's whoa, 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 whoa. And it's whoa. It is whoa. And that's that principle of separation. We all have it. It started with the fall even, and it's been passed down. And we want to say, oh, no, I'm so much better. I would never do that. But forgiveness brings equality. It makes allies out of enemies. And there is a way. And underneath, what I found is a person has a certain gift. If they're really gifted in something, then the ego sets up traumas and things so that gift gets so buried.
I totally see myself.
Yeah, because if it comes out, then it frees you and it frees the people around you, because you just want to share it. You're just excited to be freeing people. And basically every healer, every therapist has this in their hearts.
Yeah.
I got free. Let me help you. It's like years ago, I think in the early 90s, they recognized there were so many problems in the world that you couldn't, that there weren't enough helping professionals. There weren't enough healers. There weren't enough doctors and nurses and therapists and so coaches or anything. So that's why one of the inspirations for A Psychology of Vision, I was looking out at the world. I was going, oh my God, what a mess. And I was walking toward my office and I said, what could help the world? And I heard the voice. And the voice said, an idea. I said, an idea? What idea could help the whole world? What idea could everybody get behind? And it said, friends helping friends. So if we can help spread these principles, then people can help each other. I mean, I worked through so many problems. I was a hot mess as a young man because of early childhood traumas and soul patterns and things like this. But, I didn't want to stop there. My relationships weren't working. I didn't understand why. I was a young doctor and pretty buff, and I wasn't stupid like most men. One of the comedians in the States says men are stupid and women are crazy, and women are crazy because men are stupid. And there's some kernel of truth to that, I believe. But you know get your laughs where you can, because it frees you as much as tears. So I like to inject humor into things.
Yeah, I remember that very well in your workshops, that you really made us laugh so hard. But
Yeah.
this thing, that's what the Course in Miracles also says. You need the little willingness. And it is really this willingness, or the question, do you want to be in pain? Do you want to be right? Or you want to be happy? It's basically, you have to have suffered enough, maybe also. You have to be really sick of your suffering to say, okay, I've got nothing to lose. Maybe I open up for something new. Maybe I allow this little willingness to bring a change into my life. I think that is really, that's what the Course in Miracles always says. That was the first thing that got me when I came in contact with the Course in Miracles, was 1998, the first time. And that really touched me. And it took me a while, because I had an experience where I saw that what I was thinking before was manifesting. And it was so close that I couldn't deny it. So I saw that my thinking creates my experience, just what the Course in Miracles told me. And I was terrified. I was like, wait a moment. So if that's true, I'm completely responsible. And I remember how my ego was rebelling, really. And it took me a while to digest that, and to say, okay, to find again and again that humbleness within myself, and to say, okay, I don't want to be right. I just want this to be solved. I want this to be healed. And there is like this willingness, this inner, some say you have to kneel down before your inner, altar, whatever, however you call it, somehow.
You just spoke up. Could you repeat that? That was really good, because I think it's either kneel down or bend over.
Yeah,
And I
kneel
think
down before your inner altar and just say, okay, I give up, I'm done fighting. I want the solution. Basically, it's this: I want the solution. I don't know how it's going to be solved, but I'm willing. It's all it takes, actually.
and then we get through that problem, and then we get presented with a new problem. We get bored otherwise.
Yeah, we would get bored, but I remember when it was just really good, and then the next problem comes, you're like, couldn't it last a little longer? But then the deeper you go, the higher you come out. And at a certain point, when you've undergone a few of these transformations, it also gets easier, and the trust is built. Your trust in your soul, in God, is greater than your willingness to be right. Because it's also like this: once you experience this healing, once you really experience this change, when you change your mind and you forgive, and then the world you experience changes, this is so profound. That also for me was very encouraging, to just move on. Okay, there's more. It's like the world really changes if I change my mind about myself.
When we have a judgment, we're just hiding old guilt, and then we're stuck. We're right about it, but we don't realize that the guilt is still inside. So the ego gets to have 2-for-1. It blames somebody else, and it still keeps attacking ourselves, though we hide that from ourselves. There's a real quick healing method that I use sometimes to change perception. Do you want to play?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go for a trauma or a problem?
Problem.
Okay, so think of a problem that
Mhm.
you're going through and look at it. How's it feel?
Icky.
Icky. Now, can you, who would you like to invite in to help? Would you like to invite in Christ or the Holy Spirit or Mother Mary or,
I like to invite Christ.
okay, so you invite him into your mind
Mm.
and look at the problem with through his loving eyes.
There is no problem.
That was easy. That was see, one of the things that I learned from the course, that under every problem there's a grievance. You know, could be present grievance, could be, well, and even a past grievance gets carried over till we recognize, oopsie, my bad. So you can get through people what they feel is the unforgivable sin committed against them, and that really locks you into a prison. But if you go a little deeper, you will find that the only reason we have someone acting out an unforgivable sin for us is to hide a place where we feel like we've committed an unforgivable sin. Should we go come aside, you know, double G to say it in 3 different languages. So it's like how to get through those things, because basically people are either loving, as it says in the course, or they're asking for help.
Yeah.
They're loving or they're asking for love.
Mm.
And if we choose to go the path of judgment, we get off heaven's path.
Yeah.
And the extent we're off heaven's path is the extent that we suffer. We go the ego's path, and it doesn't want us to be free, because it's the principle of separation.
Mm.
And it gets us confused that our independence is freedom. But freedom comes from bonding, comes from connection, comes from forgiveness, which bonds us once again. So, yeah, where did you commit the unforgivable sin? Now, one of the things I found, see, if you're into astrology, I have no water signs in my chart. And my uncle did my first astrology chart when I was 21. I go, and he goes, yeah, no water sign, no feeling. I go, no feeling. I feel so much. He goes, no, you have no natural control over your feelings. I go, that's it. That's right. So, I mean, I took a doctoral course on emotions. What I learned could have been summed up in 5 minutes. So it was either like judge that or realize, oh, that's on me. I'm to learn about that. So I've written 3 books on emotional maturity because it saved my ass. So I mean, we get as healers, we get the clients that we need to help us with our buried stuff that we couldn't have found any other way.
Exactly.
So I appreciate the Tao of that, how things unfold,
Yeah.
and we can free ourselves by helping others. So,
Yeah. So I want to go a little bit now into the subject Germany, because as you said, you have 52 books published in Germany. You have like really been coming so many years to Germany. You've done so many workshops, and you've really come very close to the German ancestral drama. And I would like you to share a little bit from your experience in working with your groups in Germany. What are like the core beliefs that you found out that really trouble the attendees of the workshops that come to you?
yeah, it's like what I find in Germany are people are really ready to have a good time.
Yes.
Because their lives are so heavy and serious, and usually that's a sign of sacrifice, which is a compensation over guilt. And from what I've learned about emotions, none of that is true. Every bit of pain and problem can be healed. And sometimes I don't know the way, but I can keep searching for it. and then we both get free. So core beliefs, there's a core belief in guilt, because is there a word in innocence in German?
Yeah,
Or
Unschuld.
yeah, that means not guilty,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's
There's no
right.
word. That's right. There's no word. Yeah.
So there's but believe me, every country has that. It's just it's more prominent in Germany. So in about 12, 15 years ago, I was doing a workshop outside of Frankfurt. And I've told this story before. And I was going around the room and greeting old friends and saying hello to new people. And I got to about the 8 o'clock position, and I heard the voice again. It said, the name of this workshop is not the Wunderwagen, it's der Wunderwagen. So I ran up to my interpreter and I asked her, Monica, what does this mean? And she says, that means it's a miracle workshop. And I went, oh yeah, that feels right. Because it doesn't matter the title, sometimes things are miraculous that happen in every workshop. And I went back to the 8 o'clock position to continue. And right then I heard the voice again. It said, the souls who have been born since the Second World War in Germany are the souls of peacekeepers. And tears just shot out of my eyes, because being in the heart of Germany, it's like I knew the truth of that.
Yeah.
My wife Lindsay and I, we used to remark that the best students in the world were German students. They were that dedicated.
Yeah.
And of course, we've all had Western culture. In Asia, there's a part of them that's naturally spiritual. So in Japan, in Taiwan, in China, in Singapore, in India, India is really spiritual as a way of looking at life. And that can, what would have normally taken like a year of therapy could be done in 10 minutes. And I was like, wow, heaven's really behind us. Heaven's got our back.
Mm.
So as I say, you don't have to bend over. I've been helping, victims get out of being a victim since the early 70s. And basically, if we feel guilty, we get someone to punish us.
Yeah.
It's as if they're puppets or robots, and we can extend our arm outside of us and stick our hand up their puppet and have them do something to us that is problematic. But they're acting out an old or ancient part of us. There's Morna Simeona, who began this Ho'oponopono, this specific method from Hawaii. There's a general feeling of that. And so she said that many times those who are in our family now used to be enemies in past lives. Now, she was teaching in Germany. As a matter of fact, when she left her body, she was teaching in Germany. So, to my mind, Germany has a really important part to play in the world. But the ego has nailed Germany with guilt. So it's like, as they get past it, people shine, they become healers. It's like in the Course, it says what I supposedly said in the Bible, that many are called, but few are chosen. He said, that's not the truth. That's my cat, by the way, those whiskers coming in. he loves to help with things. And he's in the Course in Miracles, he says, everyone is called, but few choose to listen.
Yeah.
But it's in such a crucial time. It's like, in the early 90s, it was predicted that by the late 90s and early 2000s, there would be catastrophic and cataclysmic things happening on the earth by some of the best psychics in the world. And so I was going, not on my watch. Not, that's part of why I'm here, is to have easy births for the world. So yes, there were some. There were a few got past this, but the healing was enough that didn't happen. 2012, so many students fell away in Germany because, it didn't happen. And that was just all those predictions, and that's all hogwash. But what I know is, first of all, the scientific aspect of what could have happened in 2012 was we were again passing into the galactic core, where the gravitational forces are so strong that the Earth could turn on its axis. And that means usually about 165-mile-an-hour winds. And the times that it's happened before, there's been, cataclysmic changes. The Earth changes, things sink, other things pop up. And so what I know is that all the healers I knew were just working really hard so that didn't happen. Aboriginal people were doing rituals so that didn't happen. Monks and nuns were praying their asses off, so that didn't happen. I mean, have you ever seen a monk or nun with a big ass? Not me. So it worked. And what happened then, it's like we dodged a bullet. But people were so disappointed. And that was that hidden desire to attack that's in everybody that we're called to get through, called to free ourselves from this buried part of the mind. And we don't realize that when we're wounded at the deepest part, we crucified ourselves, and we secretly have the guilt of having crucified another. And this is crazy, but it's exactly what the ego wants, because then we have a pattern of crucifixion, and where we wish it on others, which is where we think they wounded us. But in the subconscious, it's a much different story. There was collusion. We helped set up the whole thing so that, and there's many different payoffs the ego has, but the biggest one is we get to do things our way. We get to be right. We get to be independent. You talking to me? You want me to follow what you're saying? No way. So, but that's what got us into such trouble. We have a world of separation. What is needed now with the collective unconscious pushing through? I mean, we see the zeitgeist and what's going on in the world. It's a difficult time, and it's going to get more difficult. So we need to have people who are armed with peace, because and their innocence, because your innocence makes you invulnerable. Your guilt gets you punished.
I love what you said about the the change of consciousness that kept the bigger catastrophe away from us, because that's what Nostradamus was predicting. And when Dolores Cannon was channeling Nostradamus and he got in contact with her, he told her that because of the consciousness that has grown in the years, that these things don't happen anymore. And I just love that. And I love that also, that to know, and this is also what the Course in Miracles says, if you are healed, you're not healed alone. So if I am conscious, the more conscious I get, this consciousness always spreads out. You cannot imprison consciousness. It's ever growing. And so each and every one of us, with this willingness to get conscious and to grow and to go deeper into love and peace, we change the world. And it's also this thing, waiting for world peace. No, excuse me. You bring world peace. You, me, everyone, each and every one of us. And I love this idea, because this then gives you purpose. Yeah, you're here for peace. The more peace you have in your heart and your soul, it spreads, and you play an active part in bringing peace into the world. I really love that. And I also always tell this to my clients, and it also helps them to get a different perspective. It's not just my healing and I want things to change. No, it's like, wow, if I open my heart and if I bring peace into my heart and all these ancestral lines, then this peace spreads. And I love this also this way of looking at our interconnectedness, you know?
Sometimes when people are just unwilling to change, they're just that, well, bottom line, they're just that fearful. And then I cheat. I say, well, would you wish this on your children?
No.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
I have their attention and they're motivated to do things that they wouldn't do for themselves. And they become willing to be shown a better way. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
love it. It's funny, I have a similar trick to say, if you're not willing to make this step for yourself, would you do it for your child, for your children, you know? And then there's a yes. Yeah.
yeah.
So if you're looking at now 55 years of, you know, traveling around the world, working with, I don't know how many people you worked with so many groups over the years, and your own experience, your own growth. When you look now at the healing itself, how long it takes, you know, has there been a change? Does healing happen quicker? Does the group move more consciousness today than maybe 20 years ago?
Oh, yes, there's higher consciousness. Back there was the desire to get better. But it's like I met someone yesterday who had been taking workshops for a while. I hadn't seen her in a dozen years, but her heart was closed. And she hadn't been able to really empathize with other people. So it's like, you need your heart. You got to get your heart back. And there's so many times where we were frightened. There's so many times where we held back, where we hunkered down. We put ourselves in these safe. We thought they were safety. The ego says, "Oh, I have a place from you. It'll cost you a little pain, but then you'll be safe. You don't have to worry about that purpose thing or anything like that." But what happens is the ego doesn't tell you. It's like this safety place it puts you into. It locks you in with the pain. The ego is the father of lies. So.
And it's afraid to die. It's afraid to die.
It will kill you before it gets anywhere near that.
Exactly.
And so in those hidden wishes where we were so traumatized, we were so heartbroken, they're actually gold mines of huge gifts and part of your purpose, which is a key aspect of fulfillment. But most people are going, no, I don't want to go there. It's too big for me. But is it too big for you in heaven? And the ego wants you to think, as an independent people, you think you have to do everything alone. But that's not heaven's path. Heaven's path is one of oneness. So what can save us from the predictions this year? And mostly it starts in Asia. In Japan again is again the key country. Japan could have sunk in 2012.
Wow.
That was, and China leveled by earthquakes, and Taiwan leveled by earthquakes, and Indonesia. And those are the countries the prediction has come about through some really Japanese psychics who have been like really up in the high 90 percentiles in their predictions. And they're talking about July 2025. Before 2012, I went to Japan. I have so many Japanese friends, and I was going, let me bring my consciousness and what I know. As it says in the course, this need not be.
No.
And then I went to China, but it's just to do what I could do to, do my little part. So, here in Hawaii in February, we're doing a workshop on ancestral healing with some of the presenters that'll be there in May. And in May, it'll be online, so you could see it online. You don't have to be there in person. But of course, the 3 days afterwards, will be online. And of course, I'll be doing this workshop and showing some really easy ways to change change these patterns that have kept us in prison. And then there's giftedness, and there's your natural purpose. And see, the thing is, with your purpose, you're so far out there, you're giving yourself so much, you lose any sense of yourself. Like, it's not about me, it's about this, because this is for the whole world. This is for my family. This is for my community. This is for my country. This is for our country. So, I have a friend of mine in Britain he's called to work in the US. I'm called to work in Germany, in Europe,
Yeah,
and now China.
You're really called to Germany. I can say that.
At over 80 visits. It'd be interesting to find out, looking at old passports, just how many times I've been to Germany.
Yeah.
But so I have so many German friends. First time I went there was in 1983.
Amazing.
And then Switzerland, and just it kept growing. So
yeah, because what I wanted to say to Germany is, that Germany, before the Second World War, there was the First World War, and that is his own history, but the passion that the people had through the propaganda was taking into the totally wrong direction. And then everything happened. And then there was this guilt and this, what I found out since I'm working with the ancestral lines is this, one of the beliefs is I've done something wrong. And this belief is so, so strong. And it started there and it then, gets passed forward and it's really strong. And then it's like, you're loved only if you're perfect, because we've done something completely wrong. Now we have to perfect ourselves. We have to deny our emotions, and we're just gonna function like doing it perfect, and then we're loved. This is so strong. And then this switch from, the women went into the male energy and building up the country and had to suppress all their feelings. So the love of the family fell out. It's kind of the soul was taken out, and all that had to happen was to function. And when I look at my mom, she's 95 now, and she just was functioning perfect, and she still does. And it's so amazing. And her generation never had a burnout, but I had a burnout, because I felt the exhaustion that she felt and my grandmother felt, but they never allowed. And this is amazing. I find this really interesting.
Each generation comes in more sensitive.
Yeah.
And therefore, if we want to protect our children, the only way we can do it is by healing ourselves.
Yes.
Now, in 1984, when Lindsay called and told me she was pregnant, it was like, I was joyous, but I was also determined that what I had not yet healed with my family growing up, that I just committed, so I didn't pass it on to my children, because you can't not pass it on. And so the only alternative is to heal yourself, know yourself as innocent, so you can pass that on to your kids so they can shine and be themselves, like your mother being that way and your grandmother. It allowed you to explore this sensitivity that you have and this desire to help others.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's exactly my point of view. And I love this. And, actually, women are drawn to me. I'm working with women and they're all highly sensitive. And I always say to them, we came here to love. We came here to forgive. We came here to love, because our ancestors, they were not able to work on that trauma. They were so traumatized. So it has to be forwarded. So I'm working with the generation of the First World War and the Second World War in my coachings. And when the women realize and can see what happened to their grandmothers and also their mothers, in what pain they were, then they're able to understand and to love, and then to step into this role of, I didn't get the love from my mom, but I'm here to bring it to my mom. And I just, to come into this realization and to stop to want something from your parents and to realize, no, I came to give that. And this is actually what happened when my son was in your workshop, and you said exactly this to him, 2012. I'll never forget. You told my son, you said, you come to give this to your father. He didn't get it from his father, and you're here to give it to him. I'll never forget. And now in my work, this is my experience. And I hear myself saying the same sentence. And I just love that, because then that also gives us this purpose. And then I know I have done nothing wrong. I don't have to take, the behavior that my parents had in certain situations against me. I can only understand, yes, they gave me what they could give me.
Now, if
And
you're
that
a
was
parent,
not enough for me, but nothing's wrong with me.
if you understand that, it's like you're innocent, and
Yeah.
that's not everybody begins like that, because we still have past life patterns, and we have ancestral patterns. But when you free yourself, you want everybody to be free, because then it's
Yes.
a party.
Yes.
Then there's love,
Yeah.
and then these biggest problems can be healed. So here it is, 2025, and some of the predictions are after the cataclysmic things in Asia. And of course, we're all tied together economically.
Mm.
So any country goes down, we all go down. So it's a team effort. Basically, it's unity
Mm.
that will transform consciousness. And as we grow in consciousness, first, we're in the dissociated masculine stage still, and we're swinging back, like in America, it's going back like to like the consciousness of 130 to 1830 to 1875, which was Wild West consciousness, um and you can't go back. It's only about vision is about a positive future. If you're open enough, you can see the positive future. You become the lightning rod to see a better way. And that's vision. That's that purpose level. And everybody brings that. But then there's that unity level of, let's do this together. We're just one team. We're one family around the earth. It's like I taught in Russia at the Psychoanalytic Institute just before COVID, the fall before COVID happened, and I was working with therapists, analysts, and basically, I gave them this talk saying, you're the heart of Mother Russia,
Mm.
and you will keep hope alive, and you'll be the ones to free people, this inner freedom
Yeah.
that we've all come for. um it's like, if Germany can stand up, and it seems like consciousness in America is going down, and it seems like the predictions are that there can be many dark years coming, but we could change that. We're not here by accident, we're here by design.
Yeah.
And we think we can't do anything, but us in heaven can do all kinds of things. So I did it. We have a whole group of mastery students, and at different stages. And the highest stage, which just began this year, called the Diamonds, and that's a place where everybody shows up. Or if they can't make it because of their schedule, that's okay. But then we have like coachings every week to raise consciousness, to get this unity consciousness going, that we're all one. There's a beautiful line in the Course in Miracles. It says, I cannot go without you, for you are part of me.
Yes.
And in another part, it says, I am you. And that's that mystical, Christ level joining.
Yeah. Or in
So,
the Mayans say, in Lakesh alakin, I am in you and you are in me. Yeah.
and who says that?
Like the Mayan Indians,
Ah,
Mayan natives in South America. In
yeah.
Lakesh alakin.
In 2006, I was in India at a conference, and there was a Mayan shaman. And he goes, the Mayan calendar doesn't end. We just didn't show the next section to the Spanish. You know,
Yeah.
said, our calendar goes on. He says, have no fear. But the challenges are there, and it's, everyone is called. We
Yeah.
can do our part. If it's simple as forgiving your parents, who, as you become a parent, you realize you're doing the best you can, and to realize everybody's doing the best they can given their what's going on with them.
Yeah, I find it so important, that still also in Germany, there's a bit this mindset of, well, the politicians, somebody has to, bring the change. And I think that's really crucial, that everybody realizes I am the change. It's through me, and I am called, and it's over. We're not waiting for someone else to do anything. It's like, just start with yourself, heal your relationships, forgive your parents, forgive your grandparents. And that already, if we just forgive our parents, that just raises our consciousness level. Like, it really
Yes.
has a strong impact.
The strongest conspiracy against ourselves that we have is the family conspiracy.
Yeah.
And after that, it's the Oedipal conspiracy, which comes from lack of bonding. And there's so much guilt there. How I first came to Hawaii, I was in Southern California, and I was doing work in Hawaii at some point, and Lindsay, who's now my present wife, called me and said, haha, the church board said they want you as their next minister. And I started laughing. I was going, me as a minister, what's the joke? It's like, and all of a sudden I began to get chicken skin, and it went on and on and on and on. And I go, oh my goodness, I'm called to say yes. And that became, kind of a jumping off point for Asia, and still for the West Coast, and for Europe. But it's like, when I got here and I was interim minister for a year, we called it the church for people who didn't like to go to church. And I would still slip in my naughty jokes, and the old people were going, why is everybody laughing? Just for the young people are going, yeah. But at the end of every service, there was a song. There was a hymn. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
I love that.
I would sing it for you, but everybody would leave your podcast. So, like when I was a kid, my wife has this beautiful voice, so I had to balance her out by my voice. So to put the kids to sleep, many times as babies, I would sing to them. They go, "Dad, singing right to sleep." Okay.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, thank you, Chuck. That was so inspiring. So happy to see you again. And thank you for your wisdom. And you've been so continuously just traveling all over the world and just really spread the love and the healing. And I've experienced it. And I have to say to the listeners, like, for me, one of the profound experiences when I was on your first workshop in 2010 was that, I've been on the spiritual path 15 years, and I've known and I've had experiences, all kinds of experiences, but to really be in a room with so many people and to experience one person undergoing a healing and be fully joined and being in the experience that we are one. This for me was so, so precious. It was not a concept, but the way you work, people can really experience the healing, and that we're all connected. And I just love this so much. This is really a golden memory for me when I was thinking, when I was preparing for this interview and I was thinking about the times we met and my experiences. This was really something that I carry so dearly in my heart, and I always share with people. That's very special. This space that you open up where really you can experience that we're joined in heart and mind is just really precious.
Thank you, Alexandra. That's
Well, thank you.
so I send everybody out there. One quick little healing method that I've
Yes,
been
yes,
working
please.
that whenever you have a problem, wherever you have had a trauma, you get off the track. Now you can ask to be brought back on heaven's path because that's a path of peace and no problems and even miracles. But it's like you could go back and review your whole life. Where did I suffer? Where was I wounded? Let me ask, how far did I get off the track? What has that caused in my life? And now let me just ask to go back on track. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
And then that's one clears one whole layer. It typically clears anywhere from 30 to 100%. So you gotta love it. So
I love
let's get
that.
back.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you, Chuck.